Good morning, Lancers. Today's maps of the day, that's right, plural, maps of the day is going to be focused on the continent south of the globe, Antarctica. Starting off with our first map, we have an Antarctica-centered map. We often see maps with certain regions front and center. Now, here's one for Antarctica. Kind of what the world would look like from an outer space perspective of the South Pole vantage point from outer space. Next map we're going to be looking at is an in-depth map of Antarctica. This is a National Geographic map that shows things like elevation, landmarks, details about the ice, and even the spot where Russia recorded the coldest temperature of 120 degrees below zero on their station that they have over there. So a very cool map. I'll leave it up there for a few seconds to take a look at that. Next, we're going to move on to the time zone maps. I know we've looked at this one in the past, but I wanted to go a little bit more in depth onto the time zones of this map. So Antarctica is a very unique continent that it has a lot of different time zones with it. The first one that has a lot of it on there is the red one. Red is the Greenwich time, also known as GMT, and is based out of Greenwich, London. This is known as GMT 0, and it is set on 0 degrees longitude. We also know this as the prime meridian or the Greenwich meridian, so 0 degrees longitude. The light blue is 3 hours before Greenwich time, and that is UTC plus 3, and UTC stands for Coordinated Universal Time. This time zone covers places like Moscow, Riyadh, Baghdad, Doha, and more. It also covers countries like Djibouti, Ethiopia, and South Africa, to name a few. And I'll put up a map of what that looks like on a world map. Next up, we have the orange time zone. This one is 6 hours before Greenwich time, so UTC plus 6. And this covers parts of Omsk, Russia, parts of India, and China. Next time zone is the yellow one, which is UTC plus 7. And this is 7 hours before Greenwich time. This is a time zone that covers much of Southeast Asia like Thailand and Indonesia. And here's a map of the UTC 7 on the world map. Next up, we have the green time zone, which happens to be the UTC plus 8. And this covers places like Taiwan, West Australia, and East China. And this is what that time zone looks like on the world map. Moving on to the gold, we have UTC minus 7, or minus 6, excuse me. And this is 6 hours after Greenwich time. Time zones of this area include places like Chihuahua, Nunavut, Alabama, Michigan, Kansas, East Texas, and more. So moving more over to the Americas part of the world. And this is what UTC minus 6 looks like on the world map. Last part of the time zones is the medium blue colors on that map. This is on the west side of the Antarctica map, and that's UTC minus 3. This is 3 hours after Greenwich time, and it has time zones including Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and more. So a lot of the South American part. And here is what that would look like on the world map. So what's really fascinating about this map right here is that even though it spans a few miles, you could be in a completely different time zone in a matter of miles, which is extremely fascinating to me. The next map we're going to look at is titled Gateway to Antarctica. And this is the most common routes to various points to the continent of Antarctica, and specifically their research stations. So as we see on the map, we have the main ones of South Africa that would go to these parts right here, as well as Australia and New Zealand, as well as South America. And these happen to be the continents that are the closest to Antarctica. And if you look around this region right there, it kind of shows how the world map that we traditionally look at looks a lot different from an Antarctica perspective. And it shows that these areas are maybe a little bit more spread out than we particularly may have thought. We're going to move on to a similar map right there. This is Human Settlements and Bases map. And it has, as you can see on the key, there's different houses. And what those houses represent are symbols of the maximum amount of settlement size can fit during the summer. The summer is the most habitable time in Antarctica. The bigger the house, the more people it can fit. And the biggest house that we have on this key in the map is about 500 people that can fit in a particular base or research station at a time. Here's a list of places that have bases on Antarctica, and it's kind of lengthy. So some of the countries that have bases or stations on Antarctica include Argentina, Australia, China, Ecuador, India, Italy, Japan, Pakistan, Peru, Romania, Russia, South Africa, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and of course the United States of America. The first base or research station in Antarctica was made in 1903 by some Scottish researchers. And back to the United States, the first base they established was in 1928. And this was the year before the start of the Great Depression. So almost going on almost 100 years now. So Lancers, that was a look at some various maps in Antarctica. And there's a lot of cool things about this continent. And I'm excited that you're going to learn more about it today. One thing I want to leave you with today is make sure you have a great day. Goodbye.